So we're nearly done. One more procurement deck to sit through, and then I think that's about it. So I'm guessing that most of you have heard of Moderna, and that's despite the fact it's quite a small company compared to some of the larger companies that you've seen on show, but probably the reason that you've heard of Moderna is because of COVID. But it's my goal, and I hope to see it come true, that if I come back here in 5 years' time, or if my successor comes back in 5 years' time, then you won't know Moderna because of the pandemic. You'll know Moderna because of the treatment that we've made with cancer. And that's the mission that we're really on. And we're working on personalized medicine to treat cancer. So we do this by using mRNA technology. And I'm going to talk to you today about 4 Ps. So I'm going to talk to you about the platform. I'm going to talk to you about our products. I'm obviously going to talk to you about procurement, because that's why we're here. And I'm also going to talk to you about people. But we'll start with the platform. So what is the mRNA platform technology? Sorry, having a bit of trouble with the clicker. There we go. So mRNA wasn't invented by Moderna. In fact, it wasn't invented by anybody. In fact, it evolved. So mRNA is the messengers that go around our body, getting stuck into ribosomes, producing proteins that then go off and do all sorts of useful stuff in our bodies. And the fact that this could be used as a treatment or as a therapy or as a vaccine has been known for a very, very long time, so probably about 50 years. But actually, what Moderna has been doing is creating this platform that allows it to be turned into a pharmaceutical product and something that is useful. So we're taking the mRNA science, and we've been creating this platform, and the real secret sauce here is the delivery, because mRNA is not that stable. So actually, by protecting it and by delivering it to the body and getting it to the right spot to do the right thing, then we can produce all sorts of interesting medicinal outcomes. And we also have to put the manufacturing in place as well. Now, the manufacturing is relatively straightforward. It's chemistry-based. It's pretty much the same every time for every medicine. So if you can, and you can talk to many of the other pharmaceutical people here in the audience today, often when the new drug comes to market, then the manufacturing process is very different. It's very long, complex. This is relatively easy. And so what you get is a benefit in terms of speed and cost to develop new medicines. And that's what this platform technology is all about. So we always focus on mRNA. There's many other ways you could go, many other pathways that can work, but we focus on mRNA every single time. And that's why this became very, very useful for COVID-19. So the way I like to describe it in very simple terms, it's a bit like writing a letter to your body. And you can change the message in the letter, and you can tell your body what to do. You can change the address on the envelope. So you can tell it to go to the immune system, or you can tell it to go to the heart, or you can tell it to go to the liver. But in the end, it's the envelope that stays exactly the same. And that's the principle of this platform technology. And here is the major proof point that this works. So in the COVID situation, the time to design the COVID-19 vaccine was 2 days, which is incredible in terms of speed. The time to start the clinical trials was 1.5 months, which again is an incredibly short period of time. And the time to actually get the product to the market was 1 year, and we got the authorization in 1 year. So you see the proof point that the speed, then it works. Now, this is all supported by a lot of digitization, supported by AI, and we had to invest very early in our manufacturing capacity. But this is the platform technology that we built. So we rapidly expanded at that time our internal manufacturing capacity, obviously with all the implications for procurement. We also had to build up many, many partnerships because we didn't have the manufacturing capabilities for the fill finish. So we built these up, and again, procurement was heavily involved, and we had to increase the inventory rapidly of our components so that we were able to supply 1 billion doses around the world for the pandemic. And that gave a combined revenue of $36 billion for the company in 2021 and 2022. If you add on the 2023 revenue, which was very much lower because of the demand, then it's around about 42 billion. But also what is less commonly known is where all that money started to go. So we started to really invest behind our research program. And actually we had 25 development programs in 2020, and this is now 45 development programs in 2023. Now, and again, many of the pharmaceutical people here will tell you, in the pharmaceutical industry, there's a lot of attrition. But Moderna doesn't have that much attrition. So these programs keep building up, and we have to prioritize and we have to look, but everything seems to be working. And therefore, from a clinical demand, we have a huge demand in the system, and probably my biggest job in Moderna is to manage the clinical side and the clinical program where we're trying to bring the new products to market. So our aim is to be launching 15 new products in the next 5 years. So here's the portfolio that we have. There's the respiratory one, which is well known. So for RSV, we should be launching in a couple of months. Next gen COVID, so we'll be launching again for the season this year, later on in the year. And then we'll be doing flu, and then we'll be doing the combination products, so flu plus COVID combination. So that's the respiratory portfolio, probably the one that we're known for. But then there's these other products, and we'll very much focus on the oncology part. But we're doing also CMV virus, which is the biggest cause of birth defects and not very commonly known, but we'll be the only products in the class for that one. And then oncology, where we're doing this individualized medicine approach, which we'll talk about. And we're looking at melanoma so far and lung cancer. And then finally, we also have a rare disease portfolio. So these products will be coming over the next years, and we'll be launching those very soon. So this is a mission of the company: deliver the greatest possible impact to people through mRNA. That's the goal that we have. And this is where we come to our INT program, so individualized neoantigen therapy, or the treatment of cancer. Now, cancer is always very personal to each one of us. So in my own case, my mother had breast cancer 30 years ago. She survived, she's still alive today, and never had a recurrence. For my father, he got stomach cancer 5 years ago. Unfortunately, he passed away 4 years ago, so he had it for about 1 year. But I think that's true for all of us, right? We all have a personal story, whether it's us personally, whether it's our family, whether our friends, then cancer has this emotional connection to us. And in Moderna, our aim is really to channel that emotion and that feeling into the work that we do to try and improve patient outcomes. Now, here's the data. I'm not going to talk too much about this, and believe me, I'm no expert in talking about medical data. But just in essence, what we're measuring here is recurrence-free survival. And the black line there represents the best-in-class treatment that is available today. So an improvement of 2 or 3% on that black line would be really, really significant. So what we're seeing here with the results is an improvement of 50%, which is a game changer in this area. So the best-in-class treatment that we have was Keytruda, and then mRNA products for melanoma have been used in conjunction with them, and then we see these results. Now, this data comes from 2022. There have been other readouts since. There will be more readouts on the data this year. But when the data was seen, then we entered into a partnership with Merck, and then we have a 50-50 position with the global partnership. So this is really, really exciting data in the industry. And we're very, very proud of this chart in the fact that we are ahead of the game. However, I think the real point is there are many, many good companies working on these products and working very, very hard for patients. So it's not just about Moderna. There are many companies that have different lines on it, and they're working on the technology. And I think there's some incredible brain power, some incredible companies behind this. Some of them are represented in this room. And there is this opportunity now to have in the next 20, 25 years some real game-changing approaches to cancer therapy, which is very exciting. And here you see across the top the life cycle of a cancer patient. And I think what's really, really exciting about this program is compared to what is there today and what is existing in the footprint, these treatments have the opportunity to act much earlier in the process. In one of my previous companies, I worked on the so-called CAR T therapies, which basically come right at the end where everything else has not worked after chemotherapy. When everything else is not working, then we can go to the CAR T. But here we have the chance to push the T-cell generation that actually goes for the tumors much earlier in the process. So therefore, better outcomes and better recurrence-free survival. And one of the keys that enables this is this genomic screening. And this is the element that makes it personal to you. So basically, you take the sample, it goes for screening, the medicine is developed based on that screening, and it's individualized to your cancer, to exactly what you have, and therefore, again, outcomes are more effective. But from a procurement perspective, nothing is really there and in place, because for this technology that we want to generate, for the equipment that we need, it hasn't been invented. So basically, we're working with suppliers to say, we need your most innovative thoughts, your most creative genius, to build something that has never been done before to enable this technology to come to life. And then we have our state-of-the-art commercial factory. So this is a building. It's about an hour outside of Boston, outside of Cambridge. We're building the factory. We don't even know really what the finished design is yet. And we're building and designing as we go, with all the problems that brings about in terms of extra cost and investment. But we have to do these things in parallel. Otherwise, by the time we get the approval of the drug, we won't have the capacity to make the product for patients. So it's really important that we do this all together. And in 2025, as early as next year, we'll be able to put 1,000 patients' products through this facility, going up to 3,000 in 2026 and 10,000 in 2027. And it's and. So we have to keep building for the future. We have to keep planning for the future, and we have to keep investing behind it, even if we don't know the outcome and where we're going. So you can imagine that from a procurement perspective, and how we have to work and how we have to operate, and some of the chances we have to take. So from a procurement perspective, the challenges that we really have are, we have technology challenges, and we have to build what has not really been invented yet, and we have to scale, which is very tough. And we have to partner in a very innovative way with the best vendors in the business, the best specialist vendors, and we have to bring their creative genius into the process, otherwise we will never make it. And then cost efficiency. So we have a roadmap for how much our product is going to cost. We know where it needs to be. And I think this is the one that I think about the most, because we have cost goals, we have targets, we're working with these suppliers. I mean, if we need to get it to a place where the technology works, that's one part, but it also has to be cost effective so that healthcare systems can afford to buy the product. So it's important that those milestones are built into the process. And then finally, there is speed. And speed very much has two dimensions. So there's the speed to market, which hopefully will launch the first product in 2026. And then there's also the speed of the cycle time for the patient of actually producing the drug. Because at the end of the day, we're dealing with cancer. And speed is very important. So if we have a batch and it has a problem, or we drop a batch on the floor, we have to go right back to the beginning. Remember, this is individualized. So we have to get that speed exactly right. It has to be consistent, and it has to be repeatable. And we have to bring it to the patient in an amount of time that can help them with what we need to do. So speed is a very important part of this process. So that brings me to the final element, which is the how. And this is where we come to the part about people. And what I would say is, for any of you who have not had a look on the Moderna website, but please have a look at the mindsets. Because we've talked a lot today about artificial intelligence. We've talked a lot about, is it artificial intelligence going to take out jobs? But I think at the end of the day, how people come together and work in a different sort of way is the most important part. And Moderna's developed a culture around that, and they call it the Moderna mindsets. So you'll see many elements to it, and it's quite complex, but this is the way that we work. So we act with urgency, we're driven, we pursue options in parallel. I think you saw that when we're already building the factory to produce the material even before we have the design. We obsess over learning, we accept risk, we pivot fearlessly and change direction. We question convention, and we push past possible. We act with dynamic range and lower viscosity in the process. We digitize everywhere that we can. And we may have seen the announcement recently, but we just signed a partnership with OpenAI for GPT usage. So that's going to help us on our AI journey going forward into the future. And we prioritize the platform. Again, this is a platform-based company, and we prioritize the platform that we have and advance the learning and advance the medicines under the platform. But I think really, if there's any going to be my key message from today, with all this wonderful program that we have and the wonderful opportunity we have to bring that to life, getting the people working in a different way is probably the most important part, and the culture that you develop around that is the most important part. So thank you very much for your attention, and it's been a pleasure for me to talk to you today, and happy to take a few questions.
Thank you so much. You seem really proud to work for Moderna. It's really stimulating. I love what you say, we push past possible. Right, I'm sure there are plenty of questions that have come in via the app, so thank you very much indeed to those of you who've posted them. What was your pre-COVID revenue like? Interesting. And how has the role of the procurement function changed pre-COVID and post-COVID?
It'll probably take quite a long time to answer that question. I mean, pre-COVID revenue was zero.
Sorry, say that
Zero.
again? Zero.
Zero, yeah. So we didn't have a commercial product. So COVID-19 was the first commercial product that we had. And now, obviously, with vaccination rates going down, then the revenue is coming down again. Actually, in 2024, we probably have the lowest revenue we'll ever have, and we probably have the highest cost that we'll ever have. So we're burning through cash very, very fast in 24, but that's investing behind the new pipeline. For procurement, pre-COVID, post-COVID, I mean, you listen to people, what they went through. Mm-hmm. It was really tough. And they were working weekends, they were working 20-hour days, and it was tough because they had to move very, very fast, and they had to find innovative ways and solutions, and they had to build everything together. So for procurement, it was really tough. I think post-COVID, we're getting back to some kind of normality. And we're trying to build in the processes and the systems that we didn't have at that time. And we're telling people as well to just take a breath, have a breather, because a lot of people close to burnout.
I'm sure, but it must have been so exciting to be part of a company that was changing the world, essentially, and giving us freedom. So, yeah, I can understand. Please, can you elaborate further on the relationship between OpenAI in accelerating your mission? You've embraced AI.
It's brand new, so I don't think there's too much to say. What I can say is our CEO is a real believer. In fact, I was with him in his office, and he said to me, I'm sure you use AI 4 times a day to do what you need to do. And I was like, well, actually, I haven't opened it yet. But yeah, so, it's developing, but I think the potential that it has is amazing, and I think it will really help us on this next stage of the journey.
Okay, thank you very much. What are your procurement strategies to obtain best pricing for new and emerging technologies and products? Some of these questions are really quite hard, aren't they?
Yeah, no, it's tough, yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's about the relationship. Yeah, okay. And it's about understanding, and it's about making clear what your goals and aspirations are. So we have one situation where it's a particular piece of equipment. We have potential that it can be used 100 times rather than 1 time in the process. It's about discussing how we can make that work. I mean, clearly it's not really in the supplier's interests because they'll sell a lot less, but they work with us because I think they understand the goal and what it is we're trying to do and the cost targets that we have, and we explain this very transparently. So I think that's the best way. And at the end of the day, as I said, it's the relationship that counts.
Okay, nice answer, thank you. How do you manage commitments with third parties, knowing uncertainties related to regulatory approvals?
Yeah, again, another tough question. But the uncertainty is there, and we have to make commitments, we have to take chances. When things change and they go wrong, then we need to sit down and we need to discuss, and both sides need to be realistic about that, because it's not a done deal and it is subject to regulatory approval, so things change. So this is basically daily life for us. Things change from one week to the next, so we have to deal with that in that way.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if there's one more question. Okay, what skills are you looking for when recruiting procurement talent? Looks like someone wants a job.
Okay, so know your numbers inside out and outside in. So that one, I think, knowing your numbers very, very well. Endless curiosity, and the ability to lower judgment, I think, in the work environment are the 3 things that I look for.
The ability to
lower judgment.
Lower judgment.
Yeah.
Go on, unpack that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think workplaces at the end of the day are designed to judge, and I think people can go into victim mode, and I think they can go into conflict mode, but I think in the mindsets that we need people in the opportunity mode, and I think if people lower judgment, then they can spend more time looking for the opportunities, and I think that's, in the end, makes for a better workplace for everybody, but also more effective procurement professionals.
What a life lesson we can all learn. Thank you very much indeed. Well, Alan, thank you for your expertise, for sharing your journey with us. Thank you so much. Really